Okay, Sspopiikimi, good day. It is a fairly warm Wednesday afternoon, April 18th, 2018, at the beginning of the lunar cycle Sspopiikimi, the frog moon, which is the last of our winter lunar cycles. And as you can see, the waters of Sspopiikimi have now opened entirely up. And I'm here this morning or this afternoon to take a little walk around, just see what's new, monitoring the migration and the first of the mating activities of the animals. We should start seeing some emergence of plant life and insects as well. And yeah, normally I come out on Thursday mornings to do this round, but tomorrow I'm with Mahoney all day. Have to take her up to Calgary for a medical appointment, so I figured I better make my visit this afternoon and see what's shaking. Don't have a lot of high hopes because it's later in the day than I normally visit, and there's people out here, and there's even somebody walking around on the wet meadows, so I'm betting a lot of the wildlife has already been frightened off. But still gonna take a little walk myself just to see what I can of what's going on compared to how things were out here just the other day. We do got lots of goose couples that are not incubating yet, but are obviously here to do some stuff. The goose just down below me has an egg in her belly for sure. And I think this is the couple that normally puts their nest out here in the cattails. Every year they do that, and there's goose couples that come back here every year and they put their nests back time and time again, pretty much in the same place. You know, for as long as they both are alive and things, especially as long as things are successful as well. If they have a couple of years of no success, they might try a different location. Any case, let's take a walk around and see what's shaking this morning. So the first thing I'm noticing is that just here at mid pond there are 4 or 5 American coots, maybe even more, because I think this is just one pocket of them here, but I think up toward the beaver lodge I might have seen a few more, which is plenty of coots to have their mating orgies if they decided that this place was somewhere where they might want to nest again. They haven't nested here for a few years. They always used to be a regular feature. In fact, there used to be a nest right in here where they are, along those reeds. And then there was another nest over this way by where this little dock is now. And then there was a nest at the south end of the pond. But it was the installation of this dock in these reeds here that after that the coots just didn't nest here again. So we'll see what happens this year. Yeah, I don't typically see too many of these guys down here at the pond. It's just a really small population, I think, at the edge of the golf greens here. So Richardson's ground squirrels. Omachlokat in Blackfoot, the big snare, otherwise known as gopher to most people around here. As expected, there's a diverse host of waterfowl on the wide south pool here. Probably between 15 and 20 more coots. Over here there's a swan. I don't know if it's a trumpeter swan or a tundra swan yet. I haven't got close enough to ID it. There's also some buffleheads somewhere out this way. I'll see if I can get closer to them. But there are some buffleheads still around. Haven't seen the canvasback or redhead that, I'm not sure which it was, that we saw the other day, Sunday. Good to note that I haven't seen any turtles surfacing yet. They're one species that I'm kind of looking for, is the turtle, the painted turtle. Once I see them rising, then it's a good chance that my snakes are also coming up, which should occur in the next few days or so. Won't be able to come back here tomorrow to check, but maybe the day after, on Friday, we might have some reptiles entering the fray. We'll see. You can see a bufflehead here, a couple of them, with this swan. The swan, I believe, is a trumpeter swan. My binoculars aren't that great, but I don't see a yellow spot to indicate it would be a tundra swan. Either way, when Sspopiikimi, as they're called, the big white gulls, the swans come through, it's the beginning of the migration, and for me it's kind of like a heads up. Beaver bundle ceremony's coming, you know, get ready. When I see them come, it's usually about one lunar cycle before I gotta do my public stuff, and it's already been almost that long since they've been around. This guy's kind of a straggler, perhaps. They won't stick around through the whole season. Just walking along here at the wide south pool, looking at the waterfowl, when I notice there's somebody looking at me. My eyes can pick stuff out sometimes that are surprising. Check it out. Just looking at the coulee. Believe it or not, way up here, I spotted somebody. Mr. Coyote. Now that I'm filming, he's like, hey, I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah, Coyote's been up there, kind of just keeping an eye on what's happening down here, probably wishing that I and some of the other human visitors weren't around so he could come down and take advantage of the hunting opportunities that exist today. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of times out here, I think, you know, I come out here with the belief that I'm doing the surveillance. But I think probably a lot of times I'm the one being surveilled. I'm here in the area of the duck blind, and I'm starting to see some critter life. Right here, for instance, there is a crab spider. See if I can get him to move. Yeah, it's the first of the arachnids that I've seen. I can't remember his specific name, but he's a type of crab spider. The crab spiders, I think, are here in the blind for these little guys. Yeah, I don't know what they are. They're not a micromoth, is what I first thought they were. But they're something about that size. And there's a bunch of them around here. I think this duck blind is used by a lot of insects. You know, a lot of them lay their eggs and stuff in between these boards, and so it's always a good place to look for initial insect life as we go into each lunar cycle. Try to see what's all being born. Yeah, so a little bit of creepy crawlies. Just along the sandy trail here, I've come across my first cowpath tiger beetle of the season. See if I can give you a look at him. Might be too skittish. Yeah, that's the black morph of the cowpath tiger beetle. There's also a real brilliant emerald green one that we might come across. But yeah, if they're out, it means there's also, they're probably after the ants. The ants are probably coming, all the different ant species. Like we saw Sunday, the big Thatcher ants are up. I bet there's a lot of others starting to come up, and flies and others that will cross this path. That's what these tiger beetles will be after. So I'm standing in the forest main, right on top of that little rise where the Canada geese were noted as kind of claiming that one couple. I thought they might nest here. Don't see them around, and there's no indication that they've left any eggs. So I don't know what went on with that ultimately. Interestingly, I see here this big glass jug that I didn't notice being here the other day, and I'm not sure what's going on there. There's a stick in the jug. Huh. That's odd. Just at the northernmost edge of the forest main here. I intentionally swung by here for two reasons. One is to check these bullberry bushes to see if any of them had any blossoms yet. They should be flowering out. Normally they'd be flowering out already, but they're late. The other reason I stopped here is because I wanted to look at this old Thatcher ant hive, you know, which is still active. By old, I mean it's been here a long time. It's been here as long as I've been visiting. And this is a different species of Thatcher ant than the Western Thatcher that I showed in my video on the other day. But these are smaller Thatchers, and they're kind of all black in color. And they prefer the forest edge zones to the open grass areas like the large Western Thatcher enjoys. However, these guys do have a relationship with the larger Thatchers. And what happens is during the summer, the larger Western Thatchers will come and visit these hives and basically, you know, go to war against these ants. They'd kill a lot of adult ants, as many as they need to, and get into the hive and steal the eggs from these guys. And they'll take those eggs back to their own hive, and then they will raise them, incubate them, and you know, raise them to hatch, to become members of their own colony, and kind of a slave labor force, but slaves that don't necessarily know that they're slaves because they were born into that colony. So that's just something interesting about these guys. Other than that, I mean, I don't know a lot about them, but I always look for what's happening here, because there's also, you know, when you watch the ant hives, you can see a lot of other phenological events, especially these thatcher ants. You know, you'll see them carrying in a lot of times other insects, the carcasses of insects that they've killed, so you can see what other insects are out and about. And every once in a while I'll come across a ant scarab beetle, you know, just like those Egyptian scarabs, raiding one of these nests. Swung over this way to look at what's going on the big river island, and there are quite a few geese out there, so I'm sure that they're depositing eggs at this point. River is still every bit as high as it was the other day when I tried to walk across, and I don't think I'm going to go about it that way. I might take a raft over to look at how things are doing with the eggs. I do want to note that there's construction getting started over here on the bridge. It's going to go for, I think, the next couple of months, and I'm curious to see what, you know, what kind of impact that's going to have over here. I don't think it'll have a negative one. I think it'll kind of maybe keep some of the humans at bay. I don't know, we'll see. I don't know whether they're going to close access like on Bridge Drive here coming down or not. Probably not. Probably there's still going to be access so that customers, golfers, can get over to the golf greens. So it may or may not impact, you know, the human activity, but I don't know. Every time that there's a big construction project down this way, it has some kind of, you know, bearing on what happens next down here, and often it can have some fairly long-term results. You know, one project that goes on down here for a couple of months knocks off the whole equilibrium or can knock off the whole equilibrium of different ecological microsystems, and then, you know, you see the whole system trying to regain its balance again, like what's going on with the coots who still aren't nesting back here, simply as a result of this little pier being, this little dock being installed down here. For that reason, they've sworn off this whole pond, or at least for the past 4 or 5 years or whatever since that happened. I think that's about it for me today down here. Some noted absences. I think I'm just really anxious for the season to start unfolding. There is some green going on here. You can see, you know, some plant life emerging, but I would have thought I'd seen a dandelion already, you know, or a bullberry flower, or what have you. But then I gotta bear in mind, you know, 4 or 5 days ago this was still under ice. So I'm anxious. I'm as anxious as some of these trees. Their buds are like, let me out, you know. Their leaves and their flowers are just, they're just ready. You can feel it, you can see it with them. They're so vibrant, but they're hanging on because because up until really recently we were still in the freeze. So, but yeah, things are gonna burst here pretty quick. I'm just excited to get to go out here and